Hi, hey, hello, and welcome to another episode of The Educated Fan. My name is Brandon, and I am joined here by your co-host, my best friend, Andrew Moore. How are you doing, kind sir?
Man, it's been a crazy week. I mean, training camp's underway. We got a lot of news to go through. It can never be just a calm preseason and training camp for the Indianapolis Colts, can it? There's always has to be something going on with the quarterback position. But I mean, I've been incredibly busy trying to keep up with everything. How's your week going?
Oh, my week's fine. A lot of studying, working on an exam coming up for a new job, so I gotta get a license, yada yada yada. So not a lot of fun. So I studying, I feel like I'm in college again. But yeah, it's fine. We've got a jam-packed episode today, so we are gonna keep it moving here. But first, I just want to talk about our wonderful cups. Every Cup Begins with K made us these cups. That's her group on Facebook. Every Cup Begins with K. She made us these wonderful things. Here's some more on the screen for you if you're watching on YouTube. There's the picture on her group. She makes cups for everything, not just sports teams, but there's a Notre Dame cup there. I've got a couple patriotic ones with a skull on there. Kay makes some really, really cool stuff. So if you go to her Facebook page, we've shared it before, we'll share it again. Purchase a cup from Kay. Let her know we sent you from The Educated Fan. Buy some cups. They're real cool. We use them. They hold water real well. Maybe something more than water if you want. In a big announcement, as of this week, we are allowed to let you know that we are joining the Pigskin Podcast Network, which will launch in September. A lot of other football podcasts on that network. Going to be really quality stuff. We've looked at some of the other podcasts that are on there. Real good podcasts, to be honest with you. And we're glad to be a part of that, launching in, like I said, September. Okay, let's get to it. We got training camp news. We got defensive back preview for the Colts in 2021. Some Colts news, NFL division breakdown for the NFC East, and some news around the league. Let's get started with training camp. That's definitely the most intriguing piece of content we have for you today. Andrew, you got to go yesterday. That was yesterday, right? Yesterday, yep. But they've been going all week long. Obviously, the big news coming out of camp this week, Andrew, and who would have thought that it took precedence over the Frank Reich news? But we'll start with Carson Wentz's foot injury. Let's talk about this. What day did it happen? What do we know when it happened specifically? Was it that rollout play? What was it? And we'll talk about what we thought the possibilities were and what we're really looking at now, because Andrew did write an updated piece today with some important news.
So it did happen on Thursday in that practice where we really saw Carson Wentz have his best day. I mean, he was really in a good rhythm. We saw him making big plays, really showing that athleticism, and it did happen. I'm not sure if it was the rollout in that video that was going around social media, but it did happen on a rollout. And Marcus Brader, the offensive coordinator, said that Carson Wentz felt a twinge in his foot. Not sure exactly what it was, but it was causing him some pain and discomfort. So he sat out the last 11 on 11 period in that Colts practice, went to the doctors. The doctors looked at it. We originally thought, we had been hearing that it might have been Liz Frank injury, which is when part of the bones in your foot are disconnected or broken off from that middle bone part of your foot. Don't know the exact terms of the bones. I'm not a doctor, but that's kind of what it is, the explanation. Turns out it's not Liz Frank,
which is great news.
Send the scans. Right. Very good. Cause that's a season killer pretty much.
It's a year recovery.
Looking at it's a very long recovery for that injury. So they were able to rule that out. They sent the scans to Dr. Robert Anderson, who is a renowned foot and ankle specialist. He practices up in Green Bay. And now we got new information literally this afternoon that Carson Wentz is going to opt for rest and rehab here over the next couple days with his foot, try to see if that's going to start make it feel better, in the hopes that he will be ready and willing to, or not willing, but ready to go week 1 against Seattle. Surgery is not off the table. There is a chance that he does need surgery, but if he goes this route and rest and rehab start to make the foot feel better, and he's able to go on it, then he should be available by week 1. If he has surgery on it, we're looking at no specific timeline, but we're looking at missed games in the regular season. He won't be ready to go come week 1. So the hope for Carson Wentz right now is that the rest and the rehab will make it feel better, will help get that foot back in a position where he can play, and the surgery can be avoided altogether. And that's really currently what the news is as of this point, as of Sunday evening. So everything is still fluid. It's not a guarantee that he's not going to need surgery. It's not a guarantee that he does need surgery. And this it could change day by day. But as of right now, that's the situation for Carson Wentz. He's going to go for rest and rehab over surgery. And hopefully that will take care of itself and he'll be able to suit up week 1 for the Colts.
Now, when this happened, I mean, the world was on fire. Everybody's freaking out. And originally, like you told me, there were conflicting reports that it was Lisfranc, and then it wasn't. Good news that it wasn't. Right now, you pointed out today, because I was like, if you could get surgery and still hopefully be ready to go, early in the season, week 1, 2, at worst, week 3, why wouldn't you do that? You made the good point. Well, obviously, we're not doctors, but the fact that he's being given the option and told, rest and rehab could be the answer, that's probably good news. Either way, I'm hoping and thinking we're going to be looking at no preseason for Wentz, which, just makes week 1, or whatever week he finally plays, all that more exciting, I suppose. But I mean, we expect him back. It's not a season killer. That was the biggest worry. I mean, everybody's talked throughout the offseason since this trade went down. It's been, can Carson Wentz be the Carson Wentz of old? Can he do this? Can he do that? My only worry was injury. I am confident in his ability to get back on track from a football aspect, on a mental aspect. My concern was injury. And now we're looking at I thought we were looking at a situation where, boom, there it is. You know what I mean? So I'm real glad it's not that. I'm just hoping he can stay healthy beyond this foot injury.
Yeah, and the thing is, too, even if he doesn't need surgery, we're not out of the woods yet.
Right.
Because with this rest and rehab, just depending on what exactly that injury is in his foot, which we haven't gotten a specific diagnosis yet, that hasn't been released by the Colts or by Wentz and his team, anybody else. Depending on what that is, I mean, there's still a chance that if he doesn't get surgery and just opts for rest and rehab, that could still affect his mobility in the season. And that is a real concern, because Carson Wentz a lot of times uses that mobility to extend plays, to really show his athleticism. And that's a big part of Carson Wentz's game, is just his playmaking ability. So if that really is a hindrance on him, that could really change the whole complexion of what the Colts want to do on offense, which is do those more naked boots, get Carson Wentz out in space to allow him to make those plays. It could affect the deep ball, because a lot of Carson Wentz's mechanical issues were with his feet. And if you got an injury to your foot, and you're trying to overcompensate for that, that could spiral and lead to some more things down the road mechanically where he's not going to perform well. So this is a big time injury. Just because he's not going to get surgery doesn't mean, he needs to put his foot up for 3 or 4 weeks, and then we're going to have MVP Carson Wentz week 1. Yeah, that's not how it's going to work. This is a very big injury. And while the Colts internally, I've been hearing that the Colts internally are not panicking quite yet, but there is still concern, and they are keeping obviously tabs on this hour by hour to see whether they need to go out and look for a veteran quarterback if Carson Wentz isn't going to be ready. This is a big deal when your franchise quarterback not only is trying to revive his career and needs really you want everything to be perfect around him so he has the best opportunity to do that. But now with this foot injury that could possibly derail his mechanics, the start of the season, everything. So while the Colts aren't panicking yet, everybody is still on high alert and monitoring it very, very closely.
Well, and another thing is the fact that he's missing training camp. I mean, that's important. I don't give a shit about the preseason, to be completely honest, but this time with his teammates, making good connections, that's important. He was looking good with Pittman and Granson and, other players on that team. So now, I mean, it's just a setback in that regard. But my concern is, like, surgery fixes things. Rest and rehab is, in my opinion, unless it's, I don't know, I'm not a foot doctor. That's one of the most difficult specialties too. So, but it just seems like something that's going to cause a nagging issue. You know what I mean? So it felt to me like surgery would have been the wiser move. But again, he went and saw the very best doctor, foot doctor that does work for the NFL. Anybody that has a foot injury that's serious ends up going to see this Anderson guy. So we'll see what happens. Now with Wentz's injury, obviously comes a little more first team, reps for Jacob Eason. What is the word on the street of Jacob Eason, Andrew? I know, but let's tell fans.
So Jacob Eason has been pretty erratic so far. And when I was there yesterday in camp, he really started off very slow. He was missing guys high. The balls weren't accurate. I mean, on Friday was his first day being with the starters, and he threw an interception to Bobby Okereke. Should have had a couple more. Didn't have a very good day. Saturday it started out really slow, and his first pass attempt, again, another interception by Bobby Okereke, who we're going to talk about in a bit. But Jacob Eason, he just, I mean, granted, you got to take this and take the whole picture into it. This is Jacob Eason's first time really against an NFL defense, because he didn't get really any snaps last year. Phillip Rivers took all the starter snaps. Jacoby Brissett was the one that was handling scout team duties. So Eason was really just there soaking up information in the meeting rooms. Now it's time for him to go up against an NFL defense. So you can imagine there's going to be some growing pains. He really hasn't thrown the ball against live defense since when he was at Washington, pretty much. Yeah. So you're thinking that it is going to take some time for him to adjust. And yesterday, as practice did go along, he did start to get into a rhythm. He threw some nice balls to Michael Pittman, Kylan Granson. He had a touchdown throw to Jack Doyle that I really liked, to Mo Alley Cox. So as practice went on, he did get a little bit better, but you can obviously see the drop off between Carson Wentz and Jacob Eason. So it's definitely something to monitor. And like I just said, this is really his first practices against a live NFL defense. So growing pains are to be really expected. And I honestly, I think I'd probably be more concerned if Jacob Eason was going in there and lighting up our defense, which is supposed to be top 10 in the league. I'd be more concerned about where our defense was at that point. But we do need to see Jacob Eason continuing to get better. We can't just have this where he struggles every single practice, especially once we get towards the end of August. We already know Carson Wentz is going to be out all preseason. So this is giving Jacob Eason ample opportunity to get ready, ample opportunity to play against an NFL defense, and really show that he can continue to improve by getting those more of those reps throughout the preseason. So as of right now, he has been erratic, but like I said, let's give him a little bit more time before we just drop the judgment on him.
Yeah, and Jacob Eason, like you said, these are his first reps. He didn't get any last year. I mean, Phil was taking the majority of the snaps in in the preseason and in training camp. I guess there was no preseason, but he was taking all the snaps. And if it wasn't him, it was Jacoby. Jacob Eason wasn't getting shit. That rookie was getting nothing.
Right.
Now, he's being thrown into this, and I've heard coaches saying like he knows what he's doing. It's just a matter of executing it on the field. But Jacob Eason's an overreaction trigger point, basically. If he was doing great right now, people would be like, oh my God, look, he's the next coming. He's going to take the starting job. And if he's having a moderate to bad day, it's going to be an overreaction the other way that he stinks and the Colts need to go sign somebody, blah, 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 blah. Let's just slow our roll a bit. He's got all a training camp. I don't foresee the need for any veteran starters to be signed. We did sign a camp body. We'll talk about that later, another overreaction point. But I think people just need to kind of slow their roll, which we've been saying about Eason since we drafted him. So I think
he was a 4th round pick for a reason.
Yeah.
So people need to he's going to struggle. He's going to struggle in camp. And I mean, that is, as long as we see him start to get better, then that will make me feel good. If this was how
which, as you said, he was getting better even as the day went on yesterday.
He was. Now we just need to see him build the days on days on days of consistent work. If he had practiced like that the first week of September when we're preparing for Seattle, I would definitely be concerned.
Right. Now, and keep in mind too, like you mentioned, this Colts defense is good and they're having a good camp. We talked about this last week. Who's going to start out better? And it's been the defense thus far. We both predicted that. We both expected it. And that's what's happening. Okay. And Jacob Eason essentially is a rookie. If you really want to be honest, he knows the offense, but he's playing against one of the best defenses in the league. At one point was a top 5 unit last year, was number 1 in a lot of categories. And we think it's going to be even better this year. So give the kid a break. Now let's move it along to Pittman and Granson, Andrew. They've been really, really showing out in camp. Pittman apparently got in his first scuffle. Throws, who is it? Ishmael? What was Israel?
Ibrahim
Campbell. Sorry, I knew. Terrible. Just tosses him to the ground like a rag doll. He's catching touchdown passes left and right. Granson, one of the better tight ends so far throughout camp, looking really good as a rookie. What have you been hearing about them, and what did you see out of them?
So when I was watching yesterday, Pittman played very well. I mean, there were multiple times where, especially in one-on-one drills, when you see the wide receivers go up against the defensive backs, Pittman was burning Rock Ya-Sin. One of the Colts is starting outside corners and pretty much having his way with him. Pittman looks physical. He's catching everything that's thrown his way. And that scuffle, it was because Campbell hit him a little rough after the catch. These guys aren't in pads till Monday, and he didn't take light of that. So he didn't appreciate that. So it's not the pretty boy USC guy. Pittman's a dog, and he's gonna prove it to you. So he's looked really good. And Kylan Granson, he's gonna have a role in this offense early. The Colts really like Kylan Granson. They like what he brings to the table. And even though Frank Reich wasn't there this week, you could see that the Colts have plans to exactly how they want to use Kylan Granson to get him in space over the middle of the field. So those were 2 guys that stood out to me on offense. And then one thing I didn't put in the notes that I'll talk about real quick is the left tackle competition right now. So the Colts have had 4 days of camp. The first 2 days, Will Holden was the starter at left tackle. The last 2 days, Sam Tevy has been the starter at left tackle. And as of right now, I would say that Will Holden has been the one that's performed better. He has the edge. Will Holden has been solid in camp, and Sam Tevy has struggled, especially against Kwity Paye. Kwity Paye, the past 2 days, has really been getting the best out of Sam Tevy and having no trouble with him at all. So as far as that battle is concerned of who is going to start until Eric Fisher gets back, over the first 4 days of camp, it looks like Holden has a slight edge and has been performing a little bit better than Sam Tevy.
So I guess you kind of skipped through onto young pass rushers having success, huh?
Perfect segue.
Yeah, Andrew's just tying things together. I'll just sit here. You do the podcast. I'll hang out. I'm really excited about Granson doing well, and I'm really excited about Pittman being more physical. I love hearing that he's just kind of beating the shit out of people in one-on-one. Because, he is. He's one of the nicest guys I've ever seen playing the game of football. It's a violent game. So you can be nice all you want, but when you step between those white lines, you need to flip a switch, and you need to go be aggressive and mean. And honestly, most of his big gains last year were on crossing routes, a little finesse, just outsped people. But if he can add that physical element, because he's a big guy, if he can add that physical element, he's going to be a problem. And that's something I think that just develops as seasons go on, every game. Not to mention he didn't play a full season last year. So yeah, I'm really liking what Pittman's doing. I'm liking what Granson's doing. Now let's talk about the young pass rushers, Andrew. Kwity Paye off to a good start.
Kwity Paye really has been off to a good start. At his first practice, he said he didn't perform well because he was. I mean,
he's worried about those snacks.
Used to the speed. he brought in hella snacks for.
Saw some Rice Krispie treats.
But hey, that's what rookies are supposed to do. So good for him. But he's been trying to get used to the speed of the game, because really, until you actually go up against that offensive line, those starters, you're not going to have a sense for that. But the past few days, like I said, he's really been getting the best out of Sam Tevy. He's been getting back to the quarterback, Eason or Wentz, and getting sacks. He recovered a fumble the other day. Kwity Paye is showing that he's for real already at the start. And it's not just him. Kamoko Toure has really showed out in camp as well. Been getting really good pressure, been being a force back there in the backfield. So he looks like he's healthy, which is a great thing for not only him, but for the Colts defensive line. And then a guy that we needs to step up and see, Ben Banogu. Ben Banogu has had a good start to camp. Now for him, again, it's kind of like Eason. You need to show it multiple days on top of each other. But yesterday, in a span of 3 plays, Ben Banogu had 2 sacks, and I was watching him. He's been getting good pressure. He's been getting off the line. He's being very physical when he can't just use his speed to get around. So Ben Banogu really impressed me, and is showing that fire and that work that the Colts really need to see in order for him to stay on the team.
Yeah, I'm excited about the Toure news. I've been seeing positive stuff about him on Twitter from the writers, from you, as well as Ben Banogu, because I mean that guy is playing for his life this year, in my opinion. So, yeah,
there was a point yesterday where it was on a 3rd down play. Toure came in on 3rd down, and the defensive line was, you had Kwity Paye at right end, DeForest Buckner and Tyquan Lewis on the inside, and then Toure at left end. It's a pretty formidable defensive line group, especially on a 3rd down, like a NASCAR package where you're just getting your fastest guys in there to go. Because we know Tyquan Lewis can really rush from the inside. Forrest Buckner's an all-pro, so if Toure can really take that role and excel at that role, man, that's a good group to have on 3rd down and a good group of pass rushers.
Yeah. Hey, Titans Time Podcast. Thanks for joining. I actually just watched some of their stuff the other day. It's real good. I like their setup. It's unique for these podcasts, so I'm looking forward to hopefully linking up with them after our news about the network. Anywho, Bobby Okereke, we talked about the fact that he's got some shoes to fill leadership-wise with Anthony Walker being gone. We talked about the fact that he was excelling last year, really impressed us just physically and with his play, and obviously took over that role. It sounds to me like he is doing just that and more, Andrew. We already talked about his 2 interceptions. What else are you seeing out of Okereke in camp?
He's really just all around the ball. I mean, the interceptions are huge, because one of my main things about Bobby Okereke is he's got the speed. He's a really long player. He's very smart, but we hadn't seen over the past couple years since he's been in Indianapolis, really that top playmaking ability. And the Colts love to force turnovers. So I thought that Okereke, in order to really solidify himself and be kind of take that next step himself as a linebacker, was just creating more plays, creating more turnovers for this defense. And so far, he's really showing that to be the case. And Darius Leonard has been out all week with a little ankle thing. He had the few weeks ago. He had a little procedure done. He's going to be fine. He'll be back soon. But really, with Leonard out, Okereke has not caused that linebacker group to take a step back. If anything, they're showing that there's playmaking behind Darius Leonard as well. So that's been a really good thing to see. And Okereke honestly has been the star on defense throughout the first 4 days of training camp. It's really good to see. That's
good news. I like to hear it. I think Bobby Okereke is a real smart guy. I think he has the potential to fill the leadership shoes of Anthony Walker, which we talked about last week. Rock Ya-Sin is Rock Ya struggling, brother. Those 2 touchdowns yesterday for Pittman were both against Ya-Sin. I believe he's given up some other big plays. What are you hearing about him? I saw what you saw yesterday, but what have you heard for the rest of the week?
So Ya-Sin his first day in camp was good. The next 3 days have been kind of average, and yesterday he was giving up some TDs to Michael Pittman, and there was a one play where T.Y. Hilton absolutely burned Rock Ya-Sin, and if Jacob Eason hadn't overthrown T.Y. Hilton by about a half step to 3/4 of a step, I mean, it would have led to a 60-yard touchdown for T.Y. Hilton. So the good thing I see about Rock Ya-Sin, though, is even though practice was done, pretty much all the players had left the field, Ya-Sin was still there working on different things. So he knows how big of a deal this is. And he knows that there's other guys on the team that are coming for his starting job. I mean, TJ Carey has been out because of COVID protocols, so he really hasn't had the chance yet. Marvell Tell has shown that he's been having a decent camp, considering he was out all of last year. He opted out due to COVID. So there's guys that want to be in that starting role that Rock Ya-Sin is in. So again, I don't want to overreact to the first few days of camp. I really want to give these guys a few weeks and see exactly what they're made of. I want to see how Rock performs in the preseason games, but it seems like Rock still has some work to do, but I think he realizes the gravity of his situation and is really working hard to solidify himself. So he's doing what he can, but we need to see it more on the field.
Yeah, I've been hearing some good things about Marvell Tell too, so I mean, we're going to talk about corners here too, but I think Marvell Tell might be that lead guy to possibly take that starting role away from Rock Ya-Sin. You want to? I mean, I know we have DBs next. Do you want to do that next, or Colts news? Kind of rolls with training camp.
We can go right on ahead to Colts news, so we can kind of tell what's been going on throughout the week, and then.
And it just kind of ties in. It kind of just ties in when talking about camp, especially, and this is out of order too, but let's just talk about Frank Reich. Early in the week, Monday, Chris Ballard let us know that Frank Reich was tested positive with COVID-19. He missed this week. He's going to be back Monday. He was fully vaccinated, experienced no symptoms, was a part of practice and whatnot via chat and whatnot. I mean, video conferencing and whatnot. But he should be back Monday.
Yep. Matt Eberflus said yesterday he'll be back Monday. So better to happen now than in the season.
Pads on Monday too.
Pads on. Gonna be fun.
Okay. Colts signed offensive tackle Braden Smith to a 4-year, $72.4 million extension with $40 million guaranteed. Not the extension we expected this week, Andrew, with Darius Leonard still not getting his yet, but one we expected, and we're glad it's done.
Give that man a round of applause. This guy. This guy works his butt off. He's an absolute stud, and now he's the second highest paid right tackle in the league behind Ryan Ramczyk. So the Colts were glad they got it done, and I love this quote from him. Right after that practice that it was announced, Braden Smith said that the Colts paid him, and now he's going to pay them back by playing the best football of his career. You love to hear that from the guy, and now Braden Smith is going to be a Colt for quite a few years to come. So we're glad they got it done.
We've got another quick, I think this is a question from Vonda. She just said, T.Y. I'm guessing that's a question about how T.Y.'s doing in camp. Have you heard anything specific about him? I know he's caught some passes and whatnot.
T.Y.'s looking good. I mean, he can still play. We already knew that, but there hasn't been a decrease or a drop off in T.Y. Hilton's play. He's been getting, when Carson Wentz was there those first couple days, him and Carson were getting balls to, or Carson was getting balls to him. So T.Y.'s still going to have a good role in this offense. And to me, when I was watching him, he hadn't looked like he lost a step. He looked like he was really happy to be there. Mm-hmm. He's glad to be back with the Colts. So as long as we can get a full, healthy Carson Wentz and he's able to do what he can and what we know he's capable of, I think T.Y. is going to have a pretty decent year.
Colts placed cornerback Xavier Rhodes, cornerback TJ Carey, and defensive end Al-Qadim Muhammad, and offensive tackle Julian Davenport on the reserve/COVID-19 list.
So that happened for 3 of those guys right before the first practice at camp. So hopefully they're back this week. And then Julian Davenport, he's supposed to be trying to fight for a spot as that left tackle. But obviously with this, he's taken a distant 3rd place in that battle.
Yeah. Colts sign. I'm going to skip one here. Colts signed defensive end Demontre Moore, defensive tackle Joey Ivy, and cornerback Holton Hill. Few of those are probably just to fill those empty spots for extra camp bodies from the COVID-19 list. And then they also signed veteran quarterback Brett Hundley, who has played for the Packers with Aaron Rodgers, most recently with the Cardinals. And I just knew everybody was going to overreact. I knew it. And it pissed me off. And I tweeted about it. And I told everybody, here it is. There's the overreaction. This was not ESPN level news. Okay? And I'm getting notifications from ESPN. The Colts signed veteran quarterback Brett Hundley. If we were seriously trying to go get a veteran quarterback because of the Carson Wentz injury, we wouldn't have gotten Brett Hundley. Okay? I've watched this guy play football. He's come in for Aaron Rodgers before. He's not good. That's not the guy we're going to get. He's a camp body. Somebody has to be throwing the football to these receivers.
He did confirm yesterday after practice that he had been in communication with the Colts before the Carson Wentz injury and had been expected to fly to Indy multiple days before Carson did get injured.
Wasn't he on the field the day he was signed?
Yeah, he officially signed Saturday morning, and then he was out there when I was there, and he really didn't even participate much. He was mostly throwing to the backs and the tight ends in his first practice, kind of helping out with team drills.
Okay, I just, people were freaking out on Twitter. I mean, all over the place. I just had to shit on those people, to be completely fair. All right. Position previews. Defensive backs, Andrew. I would say probably one of our weaker points on this defense. Would you agree?
I mean, we've obviously got some studs, but it's just, there's a lot of also unproven and talent on this, in this Colts secondary, and especially at that other outside cornerback spot.
Yeah, I would say right now, out of the 3 groups, linebackers and CBs, defensive backs. The defensive backs are probably the weakest of the 3. I mean, you have Kenny Moore and Xavier Rhodes, but the question is, and we'll talk about him, is he going to continue to play like he did last year? Our safeties, had a good year. Are they going to repeat that this year? And then we already know about the issue over at the other outside cornerback position. But Kenny Moore, obviously Pro Bowl hopes this year, all pro hopes. Do you think Kenny Moore makes the Pro Bowl this year?
I think he's got a shot, especially if he plays to the level that we know Kenny Moore can play at. I mean, best slot cornerback in the league. And I think people are finally starting to take recognition of Kenny Moore. People aren't just thinking, he's just another Colts cornerback. They know how good Kenny Moore is. And not only do our fans and media, but I mean, players around the league already know how important Kenny Moore is to this Colts team and how good of a player Kenny Moore is. So I think we can see if he, brings that playmaking ability back this year for the Colts and can stay healthy. I think there's a chance that Kenny Moore can go to his first Pro Bowl.
See, I disagree. Not because Kenny Moore doesn't deserve to go to the Pro Bowl, obviously. I just feel like in that nickel position, he's just constantly going to be underappreciated by people outside of Indianapolis. It's a small market. I mean, he would really, really, really have to ball out, especially in primetime games, because, this is voted for by the fans and the players and the coaches of the league, correct? Mm-hmm. So, he'd really have to show out in the primetime slots, and he'd really have to make a big number, I think, in the interception category, sack category. Ridiculous. I think he'd have to do ridiculous things to make the Pro Bowl.
Well, that's the thing. The Colts have 4 or 5 primetime games this year.
Yeah.
So he's going to have his opportunity on the big stage to make plays. And we know Kenny Moore can do that. So I think that's what I said. I think he's finally starting to get the recognition around the league. And if he plays to the level that we've seen Kenny Moore play and has a really good season again, I think he should be squarely in that Pro Bowl conversation.
That interception against the Raiders.
Beautiful.
Xavier Rhodes, let's talk about him. Played at a really high level last year. We weren't sure what we were going to get out of Xavier Rhodes on another 1-year deal. This year, do you think he's going to be able to keep up what he did last year, which was a revival of his career?
Right. I certainly hope so, because if not, then we've got questions at 2 of our outside corners and the Colts could be in a lot of trouble. And I really do think that this zone defense that the Colts run, where Xavier Rhodes isn't asked to follow the best receiver all right around the field. He's able to kind of stick to his side, use his instincts, be an asset in the run game as well, and then kind of just be that aggressive self. It allows him to play to his instincts and not have to worry about what his man is doing so much. So I think if he's able to continue his career, this is the perfect place for it. And I think that's why Xavier Rhodes, while he didn't probably get the money he was wanting to on the open market, I think that's why he came back to Indianapolis, because he got along with the coaches and his teammates so well. And he saw what this scheme kind of did to revive his career. So I'm really hoping that he can. And I think there's a good chance that Xavier Rhodes can have another good season. But for the team's sake, if he doesn't, then the Colts are definitely in trouble.
Cornerback 3, basically, Andrew. The other outside cornerback position right now, probably between Rocky Sin, Marvell Tell, TJ Carey. I've already mentioned, I think Marvell Tell ends up stealing this. If things are going the way they are right now in camp, the rest of camp, Rocky Sin's going to be out of a starting position.
Yeah, it's close. I mean, like I said, Rock's really got to step it up, and he has to prove that he is worthy of that starting spot. And while he has been out there and running with the ones all of camp, Marvell Tell is right there nipping at his heels, and the Colts like Marvell Tell. They like what they've seen so far of him in camp. So it's neck and neck between those two. See, if I had to go, I would still say that Rock starts the year as the starter on outside corner, but I would say he's going to be on a very, very thin leash, or a very short leash, I should say, thin ice. So if he does have any issues, Tell's going to be there, and the Colts are going to give Tell that opportunity.
Yeah, and like I said, I think what I said was if training camp continues the way it is now, and if the preseason games go the way training camp is right now, that is when I could see Marvell Tell stealing that spot. I don't think TJ Carey, unless he just played out of his mind, has a real chance at a starting position. I think we just really like him as that depth piece. Do you agree with that?
I would say right now, yes. I mean, if he does have a really good camp and proves it, I mean, sure, the Colts don't have anything against it, but I would think probably as of right now, TJ Carey is going to be that depth piece that can come in if need be, if with an injury, and as well as he does play special teams as well.
Yep. Anything else specific on the Colts for us today, Andrew? I'm fresh out.
I mean, really, we didn't talk about the safeties much. Well, we could hit on them real quick. I think, I think I'm higher on this safety group than maybe you are, because you said they had a good year last year, but I mean, Kari Willis has had a good year, his rookie year too. So
I'm not lacking any high off on the safety group at all. I love Kari Willis, and I think Julian Blackmon had a great year. He's the biggest question mark because he was a rookie, and you never know what you're going to get out of a guy year 2.
Yeah, but I think the Colts organization certainly thinks he has all pro potential. Chris Ballard has came out and said that, and Chris Ballard doesn't say that unless he truly believes it. So Julian Blackmon, you can tell he's been working hard this offseason, because towards the end of the year, we didn't really see as much from Julian Blackmon. He said his legs just weren't under him towards the end of the year, and I mean, coming back from that leg injury and everything, playing in the longer NFL season, that can be expected. But when you have Julian Blackmon getting all off season to really work on that and his conditioning and be ready for that long NFL season, I think the Colts, honestly, even with me not being a Colts fan, I would say the Colts have one of the best young safety duos in the league in Julian Blackmon and Kari Willis, because Julian Blackmon, we've seen his playmaking ability, and Kari Willis can come into the box and be an absolute thumper. He's incredibly smart, has a great high football IQ, and you can see the defense change when Kari Willis isn't in there. So with those two back there, I mean, it's almost like the Colts have been looking for a safety duo that they can keep together for multiple years, the way they kept Bob Sanders and Antoine Bethea together. So hopefully, if Kari Willis and Julian Blackmon could turn into that, my goodness, what a combination. So I'm very high on this safety group for the Colts. They just need to stay healthy, and by staying healthy, continue to make plays.
I agree. I think Kari Willis, like I've said this before on the show, build-wise, he really reminds me of Bob Sanders, the hard hitting. He could be a Bob Sanders level type player. I'm not saying he's that yet, but Bob Sanders did struggle with injuries and couldn't stay on the field, but he did also win a Defensive Player of the Year. So, guess we'll see. Okay. We're going to move it along to the NFC East breakdown. No disrespect to the NFC East, but we do not give a shit. And I'm going to try not to talk about them very long, to be completely honest. Listen, last year, the NFC East number one finishing team, the Washington football team, was 7-9. They all had losing records. It's unbelievably terrible and embarrassing. I cannot believe people even bother talking about this division, to be completely honest. Now, the Washington football team, I will say, does have a chance to turn it around this year, as they were really picking it up towards the end of the year. They're really well coached. But we'll see how they do. Free agency, like I said, I'm moving through this fast. Andrew, if there's something real big that I'm missing or you're thinking, go ahead and interrupt me. But they pick up Fitzmagic. Curtis, he's looking to be the starter. Curtis Samuel, great wide receiver. Cornerback William Jackson. And this one not super significant, but shout out Heidi. Charles Leno Jr. They're the ones that ended up with him, even though Heidi wrote him a song. They lose Alex Smith, who retired. Cornerback Ronald Darby is gone. Right tackle Morgan Moses, solid last name, longtime right tackle for them. He's gone. And defensive end Ryan Kerrigan. Draft, they had 10 picks. Round 1, they got Jamin Davis, linebacker out of Kentucky. Round 2, Sam Cosmi, offensive tackle out of Texas that we talked about on our show.
Sam Cosmi's pretty much like Anthony Costanzo light, in my opinion. So I thought Sam Cosmi was a decent tackle for Washington.
Yeah, we talked about him for a reason. Schedule, they've got 3 primetime games, bye week and week 9, notable games. They do play the AFC West and the NFC South. So their most notable games are against Kansas City in week 6 and Tampa Bay in week 10. I believe both of those are primetime. That's 2 of their 3. The Giants went 6-10 last year. They pick up, they were very, very active in this free agency. They pick up John Ross, Mike Glennon, all-star backup quarterback, former Bears starter. Kyle Rudolph, longtime Viking. Kenny Galladay, cornerback, Adoree Jackson. And running back Devontae Booker to add a little depth in that running back room, because they did let that one running back go. Devontae Freeman. There we go. They hang on to Leonard Williams. They tagged him and then signed him for 3 years. Golden Tate's gone. Guard Kevin Zeitler's gone. And backup quarterback Colt McCoy. They also have Joe Judge at the helm, who people seem to be impressed with. I think the Giants' outlook on this season is definitely brighter than it was last year. The question is, can Daniel Jones get it done? They helped him out in the wide receiver department in free agency, and then in the draft, 6 picks, wide receiver in round 1, Kadarius Toney, the wide receiver out of Florida. Liked him. He's good. So a little more help there for Danny Dimes. Also, linebacker Azeez Ojulari out of Georgia. We talked about him. Their schedule, 3 primetime games, neither one against Dallas, Andrew.
I think that's a first, because it seems every single year the Cowboys and the Giants play on Sunday Night Football. It's at least once a year.
It's my favorite rivalry outside of any Colts rivalries. I really, really enjoy the Cowboys-Giants rivalry more than the Cowboys and Eagles, which they do have a primetime game, more than Packers-Bears. You know what I mean? I've always enjoyed that one. It always seems to be a real hard-hitting football game, but they both stink. So I wasn't real interested in them playing last year. I'm not real interested in them playing this year. So we'll see.
We'll say this about the Giants, though, especially Daniel Jones. It's now or never. This is year 3 for Daniel Jones. They have gone all in on surrounding Daniel Jones with weapons. Like you say, Kenny Golladay. They've already got Kadarius Toney. They drafted a wide receiver. Saquon Barkley is going to be back from his torn ACL. And so they've got, Evan Ingram is still there. They've got a ton of weapons around Daniel Jones now, and it's up to him to take that offense to the next level, not turn the ball over, not only with interceptions, but it seems like he can't hang on to the ball either. He loses fumbles all the time. This is the year. And if Daniel Jones doesn't show it, the Giants very well turn the page and draft a different quarterback in 2022.
Very Mitch Trubisky-like, that kind of feeling, except probably a little bit better. Definitely better than Mitch Trubisky. But that's what it feels like. Same situation. No real games making you go, ooh. You know, they got to play, Washington, Chiefs, and Tampa Bay all on prime time. Other than that, nothing. Nothing's going to make you flip to that channel when, somebody else is playing the Packers or Cowboys. 6-10 last year. Now, they did ride with Andy Dalton. They did lose Dak Prescott for the year in a nasty injury. So, they've got some excuses, but they had, Mike McCarthy. They've got what used to be a good offensive line, not so much anymore. They've got... Why can't I think of his name? I'm so bad with names lately. They're running back.
Zeke Elliott.
Zeke Elliott, for God's sake. Not looking anything like he used to. I can't believe people still consider him a top 5 or 10 running back, to be completely honest with you. I don't think he belongs in that group anymore, but we'll see this year when he gets his quarterback back. Pickup, they didn't really do anything free agency wise besides sign Dak to their 4-year, $160 million deal. Andy Dalton's gone. Tackle Cameron Irving gone. Alden Smith gone. So even more losses in the offensive line department. Draft, they had 11 picks. Round 1, they did get linebacker Micah Parsons from Penn State. Round 2, Kelvin Joseph, cornerback out of Kentucky. So some help for that defense, but no offensive line help until the 4th round, Andrew. Dak Prescott broke his leg. He's still going to be running for his life this year. How can you expect Zeke to do well? When you just suddenly stop giving a shit about paying your offensive line, taking and investing in that offensive line.
It's just because they've put so much money into other areas like Dak, like Zeke, like Amari Cooper. Gave a big contract to Jalen Smith. And the thing is, a lot of it last year was their offensive line just wasn't healthy. Yeah. And it seems like Tyron Smith, every year it's harder for him to stay healthy, and he's almost looking like a robot out there with the amount of braces that he has to wear.
Their center retired last year.
Still there. Travis Frederick retired. Zach Martin's still there. Zach Martin's still an all-pro guard. Yeah. But at the same time, they're not going to be there forever, and it is time to, I think, start looking at getting a younger offensive line and one that can stay healthy to protect Dak. When you're paying Dak $160 million, you can't have him be injured and on the sidelines. You got to also protect him if you want him to play out the length of that contract and get your money's worth out of it.
Right. Their schedule, I shit you not, Andrew. I mean, we knew this was coming. It still pisses me off every year. 6-10 this past year, 5 primetime games.
It's the Dallas Cowboys.
I hate them.
Dallas Cowboys.
I hate them. Notable games, and let's move on to the Eagles. So I don't give a, I don't. They play the Eagles in primetime, and guess what? The Eagles are gonna stink. It's just
a dumpster fire there in Philadelphia.
It's a dumpster fire. It's a dumpster fire in the NFC East, if you ask me. New head coach Nick Sirianni. I feel terrible for him, to be honest, to be thrown into this now. There could be some good news coming his way soon. We'll find out. We're going to talk about that. This is going to be this first thing in our NFL news, but the Texans are now starting to shop Deshaun Watson, and from what I've been hearing, the Eagles have suddenly jumped to the top of this interest list. It's a team he'd be willing to go play for whatever fucking reason. Probably because the NFC East is so bad he actually could win all the games on his own. But I wouldn't be surprised if we're hearing some news about Deshaun Watson popping up over in the NFC East, possibly. But let's move it along to people they actually have picked up. Safety, Anthony Harris. Assumed to be the backup quarterback, Joe Flacco, Ryan Kerrigan, LaRaven Clark, Andrew. Apparently him and Nick Sirianni really hit it off last year. Not because of the way he played.
No, LaRaven Clark, I don't even know how he's still in the league, to be honest with you.
Obviously, they trade Carson Wentz to the Colts for some picks. Maybe they use some of those for Deshaun Watson. We'll find out. Gone, cut. Deshaun Watson, Alshon Jeffrey, and Malik Jackson. Some pretty big names. And safety, Jalen Mills off to the Pats. Deshaun Jackson.
Did you say Deshaun Watson was cut? I think you meant Deshaun Jackson.
I said Jackson.
I'm pretty sure you said Deshaun Watson.
Play it back. Cut it. Cut it out. I'm going to cut it. Cut it from the live stream. Sorry, draft, 9 picks. First round, Devontae Smith, wide receiver out of Alabama. Some people thought he was the best receiver in the draft. Some people thought he was like 3rd or 4th, but he's definitely the biggest.
Marvin Harrison 2.0. Loved Devontae Smith.
We'll find out. Round 2, Landon Dickerson, center out of Alabama. Little protection for whatever quarterback is running around in that backfield. I'm just telling you right now, it's hilarious to me that the Philly media is trashing Carson Wentz so much when realistically they're upset he's gone, because they literally traded him away, and now they're already going, can we get Deshaun Watson, please, or somebody? We do not trust the guy that we just decided to keep over Carson Wentz. Granted, Carson Wentz wanted out. That makes a big difference, but still, my God. Schedule, they've got 2 primetime games, one of those against the Cowboys, a bye week in week 14. Andrew, what's your prediction for this division?
See, I think it's actually going to be a neck and neck between Washington and Dallas this year. I honestly love Dak Prescott. I think Dak Prescott is a good quarterback.
Dak Prescott's your dad.
$40 million a year. Dak Prescott's my dad, but I just don't know how those other pieces around him, especially the defense. The offense wasn't the problem for Dallas last year when Dak was there. It was the defense. And can this Dallas Cowboys defense really defend anything? That's the big question. We know that Washington has a pretty decent team. So I think as of right now, I would probably go Washington wins the division again, then Dallas, then the Giants. I just don't trust Daniel Jones at this point. And like you said, Philadelphia is a dumpster fire. They don't even want Jalen Hurts, and now it seems they'd rather go for Deshaun Watson. But since Deshaun Watson's not on the team yet, I'm going to put Philly in the bottom of the division.
I have the exact same order. Dak coming back makes a really big difference. Question marks about Ryan Fitzpatrick with the Washington football team. He is going to win some games for them, and he will likely lose some games for them. But that defense is no joke. They've got some really good receiver and running back. Dallas, Dak Prescott, I do think makes that big of a difference for them, but Can he stay healthy? Is their defense going to, there's a reason Dak Prescott's numbers before he went out last year were inflated, is because he had to throw the ball for 1 million yards a game and just to keep up. The Giants are well coached, but I could see them in Dallas flip-flop, and I still think Washington wins the division. And then the Eagles, dumpster fire. If they get Watson, they have a chance to maybe finish second in the division, but that's not the case right now. So that's my prediction. Don't bet on it. Let's move along to a little news around the league, Andrew. Let's talk about, real quick, what's really going on with Deshaun Watson. Texans are now willing to listen to trade offers, for quarterback Deshaun Watson, asking for a combination of 5 high draft picks and starting caliber players per sources. That's a high ask right now, but I do think when he showed up to camp, they gained a little leverage back.
They did, but at the same time, the way Deshaun Watson's being used in Texans camp right now, he's not even taking any reps at quarterback. He's standing in as the scout team safety. So they're giving all of the starting reps to the other quarterbacks. So that pretty much means that Deshaun Watson will not be with the Texans, and they don't have him really in the future plans if that's what he's relegated to as of right now. So it could be Philadelphia, it could be Miami. We'll have to see. So, but yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't expect. And then plus all the legal stuff that's going on with Deshaun Watson too. We're not even going to get into that, but we don't even know if he's going to be able to play in 2021, let alone play for the Texans.
But we don't know.
It seems like they've moved on. So,
but we don't know.
We'll have to see. There's a lot left in this story.
We don't know that he can't play either. I think that's really important to know. We don't know that he can't play. Until this case is settled, I don't even want to go out and I don't want to accuse Watson of anything. There's a reason this hasn't been settled yet. We're going to find out, but the NFL, still nothing out of them about placing him on paid leave or anything like that. I think it's important to note, too, that if they were trying to get him to take starting reps, he would simply say, "Oh, my knee hurts, sorry." And he would hold in, I think. So that's something we, maybe now Devontae Adams isn't going to do that. We've already talked about this. Other big news. That I can't believe, it's kind of slipped out of my mouth. But the Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers agree to a reworked contract, keeping Rodgers in Green Bay through 2022. Contract voids before 2023 season, and Rodgers is untaggable after the 2022 season, making way for him to become a free agent. I still think he ends up on another team next year at the latest. I think this is the last year. I understand that they reworked the deal and yada yada, but I don't see him in Green Bay after this year. But hey, glad he's there this year.
I mean, if you're a betting man, I mean, obviously we're betting men. I would put my money on that too. I mean, it seems like they'll get him in here for 1 year, and the thing is, restructure as well. Aaron Rodgers' contract becomes much more tradable after this year, and the cap hit goes way down for the Packers too. Yeah. So it very well could be that he's sent on over to Denver or some other team to finish his career. But yeah, I would, if I was putting money down on it, I would say that this is probably, even though it becomes voidable after 2022, a lot of things would have to change if Aaron Rodgers is still there for next year.
Part of the deal here, too, was that Randall Cobb get traded back to the Packers from the Texans. That happens. Randall Cobb walks into the room to see the media and said, "My people." He was very happy to be back in Green Bay. I think you're going to see some touchdowns out of Randall Cobb. I think he's flex worthy in fantasy this year, Andrew.
Ooh. Interesting. I see. I wouldn't go that far. I mean, I think he could probably get a couple.
I'm not telling you to make him your primary receiver.
But I mean, Randall Cobb still is an older wide receiver, and the Packers sent a 6th round pick for him just to make Aaron Rodgers happy. But so we'll see. I think his ceiling is probably 4 or 5 touchdowns, but that's probably his ceiling.
This is his 11th season in the league. It's not that.
So he's probably like 33. 33, 34. He's getting up there.
Dolphins corner Xavier Howard has publicly, officially requested a trade over his contract dispute with the team. Did this whole big thing on Instagram. We've talked about this. I just think you sign a contract, you know what I mean, and you outplay it, but it's just a year early, I think, for him to be asking for an extension. I think you need to put one more year in, maybe not even to the level you did this past year, because he played outstanding, unbelievable football. But I mean, nobody was even talking about him like they were Mika Fitzpatrick, who was just taking touchdowns back every single game for the Steelers. What do you think about this situation?
Yeah, and I mean, he had a very good year last year. I mean, you can't deny that. But at the same time, I mean, this guy did sign the contract.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. I don't see the leverage that a lot of other players have when they demand trade that Xavier Howard does. And then you getting back to kind of saying that you can fake an injury to kind of hold in. It seems like he might be doing that, as he said that he's having some ankle issues and it's going to keep him out for some time. So we'll see how long it is before if he is traded or decides to come back and play for the Dolphins this year. We'll definitely have to watch.
Couple of extension. The Browns and running back Nick Chubb agreed to a 3-year, $36.6 million extension. He's really good at football. Real good move by the Browns here. I think they did this in the right time frame as well. You know what I mean? The Cowboys waited too long with Zeke and kind of paid for what he did instead of what he's going to do. I think the Browns made a good move here.
Yeah, and for 3 years, it's not like they're going to have him into his 30s either. So I think he becomes a free agent either again when he's 28 or 29. And this extension makes him, I think it's like the 5th highest paid running back when you go year-to-year average in the league.
Washington football team and defensive tackle Jonathan Allen agreed to a 4-year, $72 million extension. He's good at football. Anything on that?
The Washington football team, I mean, they've got one of the best defensive lines in all of football. You got Jonathan Allen, Chase Young, Montez Sweat, and there's another guy that I know I'm forgetting, but they've got one of the best, and they're all young too. They're all guys that are going to be coming into their career, coming into their prime. So it's going to be expensive to keep all of them, but man, it's a very fierce defensive line that they're building there in Washington.
Last question, Andrew, another one in the chat from Vonda. So if Carson can't get healthy quick enough and there isn't a confidence level in Eason, who does Ballard go after?
Well, let's go over some options. If you're looking at just the
Number
free
one,
agent,
I personally believe nobody.
I at this point you would have to think nobody, but the options out there, they are kind of slim, especially on the free agent market. I mean, Robert Griffin III, that's really the only one that pops into my mind. I don't think the Colts are going to trade.
If he ended up a Colt after everything, I would just shit my pants.
When looking at the trade market, I don't think the Colts are going to trade for Nick Foles to get a quarterback to come in after Wentz is injured. That ain't going to work out. Marcus Mariota is an option by chance. I don't think, I mean, the Colts could try to trade for Gardner Minshew, but again, in their division. So Marcus Mariota just kind of depends. But the thing is, the Colts don't really have the draft capital to really go out and do that. Do you think, I mean, Ballard's already given up a pick in this year's draft to the Eagles, whether it's a first round pick or a second round pick. We'll have to see if Carson Wentz plays over 75% of the snaps, but I don't think he wants to give up more for a quarterback, especially if Wentz isn't going to be out all year.
Right.
You might as well just keep Jacob Eason, let him see what he can do against live action in live regular season games. If Carson Wentz can't go, then you got an answer on Jacob Eason as well, and you're not giving up draft capital. So those are some of the names that are out there, but I don't think a move will be made.
And if Jacob Eason does have a higher ceiling than we're seeing, if he has potential, he's going to get better as that situation goes on, not worse, or even stay the same. I think Jacob Eason, if for some reason he's got to be the guy for whatever period of time, I think we're just going to see him progress slowly. It could depending on how long and if obviously Carson Wentz is out. It could have playoff implications if Jacob Eason isn't progressing very well, but I don't think we have to worry about any of it, to be completely honest. I think Jacob Eason's going to be the guy at the very worst. Andrew, I think that's it for today. Anything else from you? You know what? Note for the players in training camp.
Hey, and also, don't be the guy that takes his shit in the porta potties.
Don't be that guy.
I went in there, I about threw up. All right, have a little bit more.
I'm really excited for Hard Knocks. That should be what, next week? Week after? Something like that? Soon. Should be getting some Hard Knocks soon.
It's got to be coming up soon. So we'll review it. We'll be able to review it for you guys.
Another little segment to fill the positional previews and new kid at school. Go follow us on Twitter and Instagram at @theeducatedfan_. I think you know how to spell. Facebook, The Educated Fan. YouTube. Hopefully you're watching right now. If you're listening to the podcast, go check us out on YouTube. The Educated Fan. We tweet the link to that profile all the time. Go check it out. Until next time, guys. Go Colts.
Go Colts.
I fucking love football and I love you guys.